Hello everyone, this is Cherie, and this is the first in a series of videos about horror movies that I'm watching. And this is all in preparation for the horror screenplay I'm going to be writing in November. So I'm trying to watch a horror movie every day, and I decided to just tell you a little about them and the scenes that I find most interesting. The first movie is The Host, not the one based on that Stephenie Meyer novel, but the South Korean Bong Joon Ho monster movie. And this concerns, starts out with this Western doctor telling this South Korean man to throw all this old formaldehyde into the drain, which drains into the river. And basically that changes some of the things living in the river, and this giant monster forms from it. I actually really enjoyed this movie, much more than I did Parasite. I've seen 4 Bong Joon Ho movies now, and this one might be my favorite. And mostly because the main characters, they all start out with character flaws, and through this journey, they're able to change and overcome their flaws, basically. And that's the kind of screenwriting I like. Now, did it scare me? No, it wasn't that scary a movie to me. But it was fun. It was entertaining. There was one shot I really liked, and that is where they're on the banks of the river, and they see in the distance this monster coming out and running towards them. And then they all turn and they start to run. And as they're running, the monster kind of comes up and it goes on the side of the bank, and he's running kind of parallel to the main character. And it's just a really great dolly tracking shot. So anyway, do I recommend seeing The Host? Yes, I thought it was a really good movie. Is it scary? Not so much. Then I finally saw Hereditary. I actually saw the director's Midsommar, which was his second film, before I saw Hereditary, which was his first. And it was as good as they say. Toni Collette does a great job. It concerns a family just going through a horrible grieving process after the grandmother dies, or Toni Collette's mother dies, and kind of all these, creepy things start happening. I did not see where the ending was going, but again, like, none of it was super scary. It wasn't like, I guess, horror, it's not just about scares. Actually, it's probably not about scares, but it didn't scare me. It was creepy. And the scene that I thought was just very memorable was the scene where the daughter is going into shock because she ate nuts and she's allergic to nuts. And the son her brother is driving her to the hospital. And you see these shots of her feet just kicking while she's in the back seat. And then she rolls down the window and tries to gulp in fresh air. And then what happens after that, people who've seen it know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to spoil anything, but that was an intense scene. Again, it was a very good film. Yeah, I'd recommend it. I think I liked, of the 2 that he directed, I think I like Midsommar better, but they're both very good. So yeah, definitely recommend you see those. The next movie is a French film called The Iron Rose. It has subtitles, but there's not a lot of talking. They're just basically, it's a couple wandering around a graveyard. You know how French cinema is. But so this couple decides to have a picnic in a graveyard, and they get locked in, and it shows them gradually going crazy, kind of, from being locked in the cemetery overnight. Again, this was not scary for me. It was weird. The opening shot, I think it opened really well to set the tone. starts out with the female character on the beach, and she finds in the ocean this iron rose, which is like a, decorative part of like grates and stuff that you would find in a cemetery. And so the soundtrack is what makes it really creepy, because she's caressing this rose. She thinks it's beautiful. It has this kind of creepy music. It has the ocean waves. It's got the wind, and the wind has this kind of like flanging effect on it, which makes it sound a little off. And then there's this screeching bird, and the bird's volume is pushed up. And so it kind of just, it's jarring. It's like the bird is like, saying like, watch out, watch out, watch out, basically. And then in the next shot, when she puts it back in the water, the bird tone is pushed way back. And then the volume of the wind is pushed up. And it's funny though, because you don't really see any wind, but it gives a really creepy feeling. So there's another shot, actually two shots together, that are really cool and creepy. And this is where the male character falls into this pit, and the pit has old skeletal remains in it. And he's looking up, and so the camera's above him, and the camera, just twirls around. It's a weird twirling shot. And you got your weird crazy synth music. And then the woman looks over and peers down at him, and it's the same thing where the camera is like spinning around, and so she's on all different sides of the frame. So Iron Rose, do I recommend it? Not unless you really love slow, weird French cinema. The next movie is called The Nightcomers, and that says it all. That title is pretty on the nose. It is hard R. It's a prequel to the Turning of the Screw, or The Turn of the Screw. I haven't seen that yet, but I'll probably watch that next. This stars Marlon Brando as an Irish gardener. His Irish accent's a little... It's right, but there's something like weird about it, so I don't know. I'd love to get an Irish person's impression of it. But he works at this estate with a cook housekeeper and a nanny to two children. And the parents of the two kids have just died, so they are left in the custody of these three adults. And Marlon Brando's a little off. He's very sadistic. You have some animal cruelty in the beginning. And that moves on to his cruelty with the nanny, with whom he is having an affair. And the housekeeper is the only one who's kind of privy to how bad he is, basically. I mean, the kids adore him, and he's just, he's telling them messed up stuff. And they're watching him do messed up stuff. I guess it's like a psychological horror kind of thing. Again, not scary to me. Would I recommend it? It's got that 70s horror vibe, just the way it looks. And if you like those kinds of movies, 70s horror, I'd say, sure, go for it. But I probably won't watch it again. The movie I watched this morning was called The Innocence, and this was from research I did on all the different versions of The Turn of the Screw, and everyone said like this was the best interpretation of the novel. It was black and white, which I think kind of adds to the creepiness. This is actually like a gothic haunted house horror thing. It has a lot of the tropes that you would expect. It's got, the kind of creepy children that are all innocent, but they sing creepy songs, and the little creepy music box, and the wind blowing out the candles. And so it did a lot better of a job at being scary than everything else I've seen so far this week. Although I wasn't like super scared. maybe it's because I'm watching them in the morning. I don't know. I'll have to try one at night, I guess. The thing that wasn't so scary was that, you know, back in the old days, the movies had these lush orchestrations for their background music. And I think it's a lot of times creepier when you have more sparse music going on. But that was just a product of the times. It was pretty good, yeah. And it kind of made me think, oh, maybe I should read the novel, because I'm sure there's a lot more going on in the novel than what they could show, you know, in movies back in the old days. And based on what that prequel was like, you know, maybe they got into some really weird stuff in the book. If anyone has read The Turn of the Screw, please let me know. Let me know what kind of novel it is. So the last movie I saw this week was The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse is a psychological horror movie, and it's basically two guys going crazy. The cinematography is gorgeous. The sound design is fabulous. The acting is excellent. Story's not my thing. I just didn't really like it. So there's this trend these days where in movies they have they just show all the body emissions, you know, and this one had them all, and it's so gross. I'm just tired of seeing that. But you know, if you like that kind of thing, you might like this movie. But now this is the real horror. So there was supposed to be an insert of me getting my flu shot right there, but I put on the camera before the shot and right after. That's the first time I've done that, where I didn't get the shot at the right time. Anyway, I hope you all get your flu shots, and sorry about the side of my mouth. I got a filling today, and it's still numb. So the one you saw, I was like, anyway. Pepsi advertisement. Okay, you guys have a great day. I will see you next week for my wrap up. Bye.